what I like about saffron is, it's obviously natural. It's helping to, there you go,
Mm.
improve your mood. It's 2 capsules a day. And again, it's got these 3 clinically studied ingredients. The first one being Affron, which is standardized. They did a recent study with teenagers with Affron because,
Mm.
again, that's a big group of people that are really struggling with anxiety and social phobia and depression, and had great results with that. Menopausal women, because they can also have levels of that. Um, we also have the rhodiola, as I can see here,
Hmm.
rosea, which rhodiola, that's an adaptogen. There's 2 other adaptogens in here. So you've got ashwagandha as
Hmm.
sensorol, and you've got rhodiola 5 plus as rhodiola rosea.
Welcome back, folks, to the Healthy Habit Podcast, episode number 45 in our part 2 with Joyce Moran here of Youtheory. Joyce has 18 years of experience in sales and education in the natural products industry. The last 6 years, she's been employed at Youtheory with a focus on training and innovation. As a certified health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and former health teacher, her passion is to inspire optimal wellness through education. Joyce, welcome back to part 2.
Well, thank you so much.
So good
Excited.
to have you. That
So good.
first one was important. That first part interview was important. I started taking Shilajit because of it. I appreciate you putting that back on my radar. Today we're going to talk about Saffron and Spore Probiotics. So the stage is yours. Maybe we'll start with Saffron and go from there. Tell us your thoughts on Saffron. Not a common product that's discussed. Not many companies offer Saffron.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, one of the things I love is that we do come out with some unique offerings like the Shilajit. Saffron, traditionally, that saffron's been around for thousands of years. Interestingly enough, it was, you can see it painted on the wall. Saffron comes from the Crocus sativus flower, actually the little red threads.
Mm.
And it's super expensive. So ounce for ounce, saffron in itself, like even if you were to buy it, as a spice, which it is, it's super, super expensive. So again, in our formula, our saffron formula, we have 3 clinically studied ingredients, but I'd like to start with the saffron just because there's so much great evidence behind that.
Right.
The product itself is meant to really help with mood elevation and also mental focus and performance. So it kind of is what we would call a neurotropic, which helps, cognitive function, which is great. But it also has this great mood elevating clinical evidence behind it. And so we'll start with that. I'd say all in all, Dr. Dehan, I'm sure that's an epidemic now. People's
Mm.
level of mental health and mental wellness is on the forefront of their mind. We have a lot of people, that are really looking for something to really help them feel better, to help their brains feel better, and for them to wake up every day feeling good. And that's what saffron can do for you. So we're using, again, a clinically studied ingredient. It's called Affron. It's from a company called Pharmactive, which is
Mm.
based out of Spain. It's what we call it's DNA verified, so it's authentic. And it's very important that you get what's authentic with saffron because it's so expensive. Sometimes people adulterate it. Sometimes
Mm.
other companies adulterate it, and obviously that's not going to be as effective. Um, what happens in saffron, in these crocus, in these little threads, there's something called leptocrysalides, and this is standardized to over 3.5%.
Mm.
And those are what we would call the bioactive ingredients in there. So saffron has Affron has 9 clinical studies behind it. Several of them are for mood elevation in menopausal women. Um, it was kind of used. There was a really good study in 2017 where it was taken, and here's where clinical dosing is really important:
Right.
28 milligrams over a 28-day period. and the increase in the reduction in anxiety, the reduction in depression was between, I can't remember the exact numbers right now, and I apologize.
Yeah,
It's
it's
charts in front of me,
that's
but over a 28 period, 128 participants with a significant reduction in anxiety, depression, which is really quite phenomenal. It was also done in a clinical study against Prozac, this Affron ingredient with Prozac, and it was a 30-day study. So again, it works very quickly and the same mood elevating effects without any side effects. The other thing, which is interesting, saffron could be taken alongside of a SSRI of some sort to help boost the functioning of that as well. What I like about saffron is, it's obviously natural. It's helping to, there you go, improve your mood. It's 2 capsules a day. And again, it's got these 3 clinically studied ingredients. The first one being Affron, which is standardized. They did a recent study with teenagers with Affron because, again, that's a big group of people that are really struggling with anxiety and social phobia and depression, and had great results with that. Menopausal women, because they can also have levels of that. We also have the rhodiola, as I can see here, rosea, which rhodiola, that's an adaptogen. There's 2 other adaptogens in here. So you've got ashwagandha as sensoril, and you've got rhodiola 5+ as rhodiola rosea. Rhodiola has been used. It was actually originally used in Russia by like the cosmonauts and the Vikings to kind of bring people so they could outperform both mentally and physically, which is wonderful. So rhodiola gives you some energy. It works within about 30 minutes. So again, this is a formula you take in the morning. You do not take this at bed because it is going to give you some energy.
okay.
And energy boost and mental focus lasting over 4 to 6 hours. So we find, obviously, when you don't feel good, it's hard to focus, right? That's a significant thing. If you're just feeling that lower mood and you don't have that energy, so putting those 2 things together, and then you've got the sensoril ashwagandha. We know ashwagandha. Everyone knows what ashwagandha is. It's the great modern antidote for stress.
Yeah.
And so it kind of balances out that energy in the formula to kind of calm it down. It helps to reduce cortisol levels, and really has some good clinical evidence about reducing stress. So they work very synergistically together to help elevate mood. And testimony after testimony after testimony of people who have taken this. You don't have seasonal affective disorder in Arizona,
Yeah.
but if you're in the Northeast or you're in the Southeast, I'm sorry, excuse me, like the Pacific Northwest, like you live in Washington State,
Right.
and you have that darkness, or I guess if you're in Alaska, it'd be worse, but you're having all that. And we're finding that people take this and that it works quickly and they can stay on it. You don't have to stay on it forever.
Right.
You stay on it for several months. And then if you feel really good, then you can go off of it. And there aren't any side effects to that, which are fantastic.
Folks, we're discussing Saffron through Youtheory, uplifts and maintains a healthy mood. You get 60 capsules here per bottle. We have this right here on the shelf here at Healthy Habit Health Foods. It's a multifaceted formulation, synergistically designed to support mood and emotional well-being. By the way, if you didn't check out our last episode with Joyce, you can head over to the podcast here. Episode number 9, we talked with Joyce on ashwagandha, glycine, and all things sleep. You can just head over straight to our channel here, Healthy Habit Podcast, the Healthy Habit Podcast on YouTube, and check out that last episode with Joyce. So, amazing topic here on saffron. I like how simple the formula is, Joyce. I mean, I don't like when there's like 14 different herbs in there. Some of them are great, but I like 3 to 6 or 3 to 5 different herbs carefully chosen, and these 3 seems to get the job done. Then that's really cool. And it's the Affron. It's an actual registered trademark version of saffron you were mentioning, correct?
Yes, it is. And there are very few products where you can get Affron.
Right.
Even though it's an amazing ingredient, generally people are using other forms of saffron that don't have that same level of clinical support. And again, the 28 milligrams is the clinically studied dose.
Okay,
Um,
yes. That reminds me that sorry to cut you off. This just I've been thinking about this since we started the interview. When you mentioned saffron's the most expensive spice in the world, which it is, you're so right on that. I remember doing a post back for one of my herbal online pictures or posts that I did. That's pound for pound, saffron's the most expensive spice on the planet. So then is that reflected in the price of the product or no? Because you're only using a little pinch of it. So it doesn't mean the product's going to be extremely expensive, right?
no, it's so reasonable. And that's why we say, like, when people are looking, it's fun. It's interesting you brought that up. So the price is, I think it's
Yeah, like
there you go, 36.99. So it's a little over $1 a day to get
sure.
great benefits. Again, very,
But not like crazy. There's other products in this area price point. It's not like the product's $300. So, and notice it's only the 28 milligrams being used. So you don't need much of it. I mean, yeah, if you wanted a big batch of saffron, it's going to be thousands of dollars, but you're only using that 28 milligrams, which is all you need for the clinical benefits.
absolutely. And again, it's interesting in that one particular study I was talking about,
Yeah.
they 28 milligrams compared to 22 milligrams compared to the placebo. And the impact at 22 milligrams was decent, but not nearly what they got at 28 milligrams. So again, you want to make sure that you have the right dosing in there, but it doesn't need to exceed it. And I also really respect what you're saying with, it's interesting. Last night I was looking at formulations, brain formulations, and one of them has like 10 ingredients, but it was like 100, it was
Yeah.
$120. And
Hmm.
I thought, and it was a 20-day supply. It might not even been, it might have been a 15-day supply. And I thought, gosh, that's really expensive for people to use and
Oh,
to
yeah.
buy, especially the way the world is now. We have to be very selective of what we're purchasing. So this is a very well priced, but also you're getting all those clinical studied ingredients together to work synergistically to really help with your mood and help with your ability to focus.
And then we'll end off on rhodiola. You did talk about it, how it's been used in Russia for centuries. Why was that? What's the take home on rhodiola? To be honest, it's probably my favorite herb. It's one of my top. I love that herb. It's so good for sports and the brain. So obviously for the brain benefits, mostly that's been included into this formula, right? For rhodiola.
Absolutely. But interestingly enough, it's also been done in a clinical study with Zoloft, which is we know as an
Wow.
SSRI, with the same mood elevating effects without side effects. So, but I love that you love it. It
It's
is an
good.
amazing, amazing herb, and it does have great benefits. And again, it does provide that energy and the ability to focus, but then it also has some, what we would call antidepressant um, studies behind it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Rhodiola, it grows in really harsh environments. So it can withstand all that. And then they pull out the root. So imagine if we take that, then we can withstand harsh environments, is the idea behind that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was the saffron product, Youtheory. Moving on to the Spore Probiotics, the two S's today. Well, even Shilajit. We almost had four S's in the last two interviews. So, Spore Probiotics. Tell us about this. How is this different from a typical probiotic that everybody's heard about?
Yes, such a great question. I mean, we would like to call spore probiotics like the new evolution in probiotic therapy
Mm,
because they function differently than a regular probiotic. So we have, I'm not going to say thousands, we have hundreds of lactobacillus probiotics on shelf. So if you go into any store, you're going to see a plethora of lactobacillus.
mm,
What we know about them is that they're very impacted by heat, air, light, oxygen, stomach acid, pH changes, and all of that. So we know generally we get about 10% that actually lands into our small intestine where we need it to go to have an impact on our gut, on our microbiome. We know with spores, spore actually means shell, and it has this hard protein shell. So we use these three of the top research strains. So they're called Bacillus subtilis or subtilis, however you'd like to say it, Bacillus glauzi, and Bacillus coagulans. And basically, those spores are encapsulated in these shells. So they are shelf stable. They are not impacted by anything. I almost feel like every time I say that, I feel like you could take a hammer to it and it would still be intact there. It would be intact and put on the cement. So what happens is when you take them, they arrive 100% alive into your small intestine. And then when the shift in pH takes place there, that shell breaks open and it secretes something called L-lactic acid. And L-lactic acid goes off and kills off harmful bacteria, viruses, funguses, absolutely anything that really shouldn't be in there. And it helps to detoxify that out of your body. And then it helps your body to regrow its very own healthy environment. So instead of putting like 100 billion colony forming units into your gut and you get about 10% of them, they're going to have limited impact. This has the ability to really, we call it weeding and seeding. So it's very much like if you were doing your garden, you're not just going to throw seeds on top of your garden, right? And expect them to grow effectively. You want to going to want to get rid of all the weeds and all the other things that aren't in there, have healthy soil, which is what happens, weed it out, and then allow your body to regrow. So it's really good for, it helps, with our gut epithelial tissue, our lining of our guts. So we find people that have like leaky gut or celiac or even gluten intolerances, they're very beneficial for them. But I'll tell you, they're really beneficial for everyone. People take them and they're like, wow, I can't believe I'm taking 2 capsules and I'm taking it for 2 weeks and I feel completely different than I felt before. Which is amazing. We're not the only brand out there with Spore Probiotic capsules, but I will tell you, we've added organic Triphala in here as well, which also helps with the detoxification process. People like to take Triphala on its own for that reason as well. They're very easy to take, very easy to dose, and you're getting really incredible benefits for it's an extremely well-priced product that people really can afford. And the benefits are amazing, really, when you're using them.
Got it. So again, Spore Probiotics here through Youtheory. It's different from a typical probiotic. See, we only have the 6 billion colony forming units, but remember, more does not mean better, right, Joyce, when it comes to probiotics, because a lot of them aren't even going to where they need to go, right? So I like that analogy of the garden. You have to first set the right environment and then plant the seeds, and then it grows into the probiotic that we want. That's how we look at it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the other things that are really quite amazing, because, a lot of people are taking antibiotics, but then we also have those antibiotics in the food system. They're 100% resilient and effective against when taking an antibiotic or if it's in your system. So if you're put on it, which doctors do recommend to do a probiotic if you're on an antibiotic because it's killing your healthy bacteria in your gut. Right. They're 100% effective alongside them. So that's a pretty amazing thing. And they also, they're not just, so when I say they're weeding out things, they're also allowing your body to grow these other strains that we need in our system, but just grow more effectively.
Amazing. And I highlighted this point here is so important. This is probably, in my mind, one of the most important things about Spore Probiotics is that they survive the stomach acid, right? So a lot of supplements, probiotics will get killed off by that. It's highly acidic, our stomach acid, and so they don't even survive that environment. They don't even make it down to where they're supposed to go in the small intestine, large intestine, colon. So that's the unique thing about Spore Probiotics. They actually make it through that intense stomach acid environment, and then they can get to where they properly need to be in the downstream of the GI, correct?
Absolutely. And small amounts, like the clinical studies, how you were talking about colony forming units.
Yeah.
So the clinical studies on Spore Probiotics with these bacillus strains are anywhere between like 75 million to 2 billion. So we have
Hmm.
6 billion in here. So we're actually going 12 times over any of the studies, and that's what you need for something to be effective. We have more than enough in there without actually having too much. You're not having too much, you're just having what you need.
Right, and we even have a powdered version. Right, we just discussed the capsule version. There's a powder. Then we even have a gummy version here. If you head over to the Youtheory website, youtheory.com, go to products, and then you can literally just search in the top bar up here for Spore Probiotics, or even just type in probiotic, then you'll get this information here. There is a gummy version too. Have you tried this one, Joyce?
Oh my goodness, it's so
Is
delicious.
it?
Yeah, yes. It's actually just one gummy, but I want to eat all of them.
Right.
We just started formulating gummies because they're a big, people love gummies. They
Okay.
are, they're a format that people, it's such a growing area. I mean, if you go in stores now,
Yeah.
whole shelf is gummies now. But what we did differently is we made sure, first of all, like this just has bacillus coagulans in it, but it has 2 billion. And we're using low sugar. So there's less than 1 gram of sugar in our gummy formulas.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure we're not adding a bunch of sugar to people's diets by taking one of our gummies. So all of them have been formulated the same way.
Your digestive system can be put out of balance for many reasons, folks, including stress and diet. Youtheory Spore Probiotic provides live bacteria, which can help support gut balance and supports overall digestive health. So, what do you mean by live bacteria? And does this need to be refrigerated?
No, not at all. None of the spores need to be refrigerated at all, which is another great benefit
Okay.
because we're not carrying around refrigerators with us all the
Right.
time if we're traveling. They are shelf stable, so none of them need to be. Again, that spore shell is so protective and so resilient. They don't have to. So you're getting the live bacteria in there inside the shell, and it doesn't need to be refrigerated. We like to say they're designed to survive and thrive. There you go. Survive and thrive.
Hi, there it is right up there. Yep, absolutely. So you can either order directly through them at youtheory.com or go to our website, triplehfoods.com, or give us a call at 602 252 6000. So, how does one know, should I try this or should I try a typical probiotic? Like, when do they know they need this? When do they know they should consider even taking any kind of probiotic?
I think everyone should be taking a probiotic. I mean,
Mm,
our gut is, our gut brain access is so important.
right.
And like when we're talking about emotional wellness or mental health, if our gut's out of balance, I think 80% of our serotonin or 85 is produced in our gut.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need a healthy gut for many, many reasons. But one of the reasons is for our mental well-being. And so I would say everyone should take it. And I think everyone should try the Spore Probiotic and see the difference that they might feel from taking a regular probiotic. You can take it alongside another probiotic if you feel like you want to keep taking both. I find one thing that I've learned about some of the other, when we talked about putting a bunch of different ingredients together,
Yeah.
what you find in some of the lactobacillus bifidobacteria strains are they have a bunch of strains together, but they've never been clinically studied together. So we don't really know how synergistically they work in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Where we do have the clinical evidence for these. And, it's for helping lower cholesterol, just basic, digestive support, regular being able to go to the bathroom, have regular bowel movements for people that have gas and bloating. If you have gluten intolerance like I do and I eat something, I'll just take 2 of these and they're amazing. The powder itself has prebiotic fiber in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we know prebiotic fiber is great for fueling and helping the probiotics or the spores in there. One neat thing about this powder is it can be used for all different ages and stages of life. and you can dose according to what we call like the Clark's rule, which you can look up online,
Hmm.
dosing according to weight. So this is good if you're looking for a prebiotic component, and the other one is great if you're looking for something with more detoxifying benefit.
Oh, interesting. This is probably the first time I've ever seen next to the servings per container the by weight there in the brackets. So thanks for mentioning that. That's really cool. So it's even more specific per person. That's very smart. And what was the formula name you said? If people want to search that?
Sure, it's just Clark's rule. You can go
Clark's
look
rule.
right online, Clark's rule, and it'll show you how to dose according to weight. I mean, this is something that my daughter, who I mentioned, just had her third baby, but
Yes, congratulations. Yep.
the other two were not nursed, and one was a C-section, so they
Mm.
weren't getting the beneficial bacteria that you get when you go through the vaginal tract when the baby's born. And it can be used, you can add it into a baby's bottle, even if you're using breast milk. But if you're using formula, it can be added. It can be used for kids, for animals. So it has a lot of different applications.
Wonderful. Joyce, this was amazing. Part two of our back to back episodes 44 and 45. And remember, folks, go back and check out episode 9, our previous episode with Joyce, if you want to stay in the loop with what's happening here at Youtheory. Give us a little take home for today. We hit on a lot of critical things like rhodiola and spore probiotics. You even mentioned triphala, saffron, and ashwagandha. So, what's a good recap for today?
I'm not a good
I
recap.
know, right? It's tough. It's tough to recap.
I'm trying to recap.
Well,
I'm
you
just
could just give us your closing thoughts. What someone should walk away with knowing today.
Well, just first of all, that I'd like to just support your store, first of all, because Healthy Habits does such an incredible job at trying to both not just have the right products on shelf, not just Youtheory, but the right products on shelf,
Yeah.
but also the education component behind it. You're really getting amazing educator like you and your team that are out on the floor working so hard. And just for people to really be vigilant about looking what's in their products, that they're the right clinically studied doses. And when you're looking for products that have that and clinically studied ingredients with science backing them, we'd love you to come to Youtheory. We have a whole line of products um, to help people's lifestyles and wellness.
Joyce, thank you for your time, for coming on in these back to back, part 1 and part 2. And I look forward to talking to you next time.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a great day.
You too.